The best way to talk about why Hamlet is so great is by talking about what Shakespeare does with a popular genre of drama in his time. Okay. Around a few decades, probably 1550s, early 1550s, England underwent kind of development of a genre in a direction of popularizing the idea of revenge on the stage. Okay. So leading that popularization of revenge drama was a playwright named Christopher Marlowe. Okay. He was one of the first ones to write revenge tragedies. Everybody wanted to do something like that. It was just simply popular, and because it's popular, it made a lot of money on the stage. Okay. Why is revenge drama popular? Because revenge as a plot gives energy to the action. Meaning, if you know the stories about revenge, you know, somebody's been hurt, I've been hurt, I need to take revenge, that gives a very clear understanding of motive for action. And then for the drama, you can see how the character follows through, you know, with a plan for action, and how the actor pursues revenge. So on stage right there, you can see a kind of drive, kind of energy to go and forward-moving energy to do things. And that's exactly what gets to appeal to the audience, and the audience can connect with that energy when they go see the play. Okay. It's a great innovation for the English stage at the time, because English drama before then, their plays and their productions were not so energy driven, and so sometimes you don't know where the story is going, and you are there as in the audience, you're bored, you can't connect. Revenge tragedy, revenge drama connects the audience in the energy it generates, right? Because the story itself is about some sort of action. And as I said, the greatest leading figure of that early in the 16th century was Christopher Marlowe. Okay. Sorry, so it started in the 1580s. The height of that, the first period of that was 1580s, Christopher Marlowe. And Thomas Kyd, too. That was a very popular play. When Shakespeare earlier tried to write revenge tragedy, his work was called Titus Andronicus. That was a revenge tragedy early in Shakespeare's career. Why did he write that play? He wanted to make money. He thought it's a good idea to do a play on revenge. Now, this calls attention to the considerations Shakespeare had when he was writing. So he was not just purely writing for intellectual accomplishment to write great plays. He was writing also for popular entertainment. He is the equivalent, I have explained this in the beginning of this course, that he's really a popular entertainer. He's in popular entertainment. He's like somebody who's doing movies today. We gotta do movies. What kind of movies make money? You know, like those writers and producers in Hollywood, they're constantly thinking, we gotta do a movie. So what kind of movies make money? How do we make a movie that's both good, intellectually good, smart movie, and also a movie that is sure to attract a lot of audiences, that is sure to be a blockbuster, a box office bestseller, that kind of thing. Okay. Shakespeare's like that. He wrote Titus Andronicus around 1593 or so, and then he wrote a history play in 3 parts, Henry VI, even before Titus Andronicus, around 1590. Henry VI was a huge bestseller too. And why do we know it's a bestseller? it's got 3 parts. You write part 1, bestseller. Then you write another one, part 2, bestseller. You write another one, part 3, because so popular, all right? And it's about how revenge tears apart the entire English ruling family during the Wars of the Roses of the 15th century. Okay. I would say before Hamlet, these were the revenge plays Shakespeare wrote. They cannot compare with Hamlet. These are good plays. Anybody who could write them would be great. But when he wrote Hamlet, Shakespeare attained true, brilliant greatness in a way these plays can't do for him. Why? These plays are revenge plays in the conventional sense. Shakespeare decided to write Hamlet not just as a revenge play, but also a revenge play about the theory, the idea of revenge. It's not just that he puts out a play about revenge. He forces you, he makes you investigate, what does it mean to take revenge? What is revenge? Yeah. Revenge means you have to go and act. You have to go and kill somebody, really. So notice Hamlet, he doesn't really go about killing. He actually makes speeches about, should I kill myself, to be or not to be? So that is a clue. It's a play not full of sort of people killing each other. It's a play where there is a questioning constantly. What is action? So revenge is a kind of action, but it's also, what is action? How do you act in these circumstances? The reason that the Hamlet play is so brilliant is that the story itself is set in such a way that this man, Hamlet, finds that he has to, or he thinks he has to commit revenge, but he is in such a situation in life that he cannot act. He cannot take action. And so the whole play, instead of become like a gory, very bloody action thriller, it's an action suspense. It's a suspense thriller, means you are constantly in suspense about whether or not he's going to do it. Is he going to take revenge? When? Because you're just, can he do that now? Can he? So that's why the audience from the very first beginning was enthralled when the play was put on, because they have revenge in their mind, but they're wondering when's that going to happen? So the whole play is about when action may take place, the audience will follow, and also Shakespeare gets the audience to think about what action means. The reason that is Shakespeare constructs a narrative, a plot that allows people not only to follow action, but also to think about how action works. So imagine, this is Hamlet's situation. He's a prince. He's away, attending university, going to college. And then he's called home because his father is dead. He comes home, he finds out his father's dead, and his uncle has become the king. His father used to be the king, the great king of Denmark. His uncle is now taking over. He's now the king. And moreover, his uncle has married his mother. Hamlet, you could tell, obviously as the son, my mother married to my uncle. And not only that, obviously he didn't have a high opinion of his uncle in the first place, right? So he's not very happy. And then he finds out, right? Somebody tells him, look, people have seen really screwy things around at night. There's a ghost somewhere. Hamlet gets to meet the ghost, Ghosts tell him, I'm your dad. I was murdered. You have to take revenge. First, why is that? Well, I'll talk about the different difficulties of action. I'll summarize that later. But so he's told that. And he first doesn't know what to do. First, why? Because can you trust a ghost? I mean, it's not, you cannot sue your uncle in court and say, look, my dad was murdered. So where's the evidence? Well, a ghost tells me. That's not evidence. Moreover, as he stays longer and longer, he wants to go home. He wants to leave. He's like, I don't feel comfortable here. Moreover, as he stays longer in Denmark, he realizes the whole country is rotten. It's corrupt. Everybody is in his uncle's pocket, meaning his uncle has bought everybody out. Everybody's on his uncle's side. They're all corrupt. The courts are corrupt. If he sues, or if he comes out and says, look, I charged my uncle with murder, they're all his friends. Not only that, his mother is married to his uncle. And his mother is always saying, you should be nicer to your uncle. And the courtiers, such as Polonius, are corrupt too. They're not very good at asserting their integrity. They have no integrity. They're only thinking about how to get along in this world. And the old king is dead. They like the new king, no problem. They'll submit to the new king. And not only that, when he meets his childhood friends, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, he reunites with them after so many years, and they were his friends. They went to school together. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern have no qualms. They have no shame. They're totally on his uncle's side, and they agreed to serve as his uncle's spies, to spy on him. So it's, to him, from the beginning, an impossible situation. How do I avenge my father? On so many levels, it's a problem with action. Why? First, epistemological level, meaning the level of just knowledge in the first place. How do you know the ghost is your dad? And other levels, just practical levels, the whole place is corrupt. The whole country is corrupt. You cannot assert yourself. You cannot assert your virtue in this country. The only person, notice, he talks to is his friend Horatio. Horatio is the good guy, but Horatio cannot do much for him. Why is he the good guy? He's the good guy precisely because he's out of the circle of the elite. The entire elite is corrupt. There's no way you could do anything about it. Horatio listens and he tells Hamlet, well, just do sensible things. Don't get too close to the ghost. That's a ghost. Do sensible things. If you don't like this, you could do something else. But Horatio, it's because he's not in politics. He is not in the political circles. Now, about Hamlet as well, I want to remind you about Hamlet, is that Hamlet is a prince. So he should be raised from the very beginning in politics. These are political figures. They should know how to play the game of politics. But Hamlet, notice he's very melancholy. He doesn't act. He thinks. And there is that juxtaposition. Shakespeare's juxtaposing him to other characters in the play. Because you know what? If you notice politicians, they don't do they're not always thinking. Most of the time, they're taking action. Yeah. Hamlet's hesitation to take action seems to suggest, look, is he fit for politics? If his uncle takes action, well, murder is an action. He murdered his brother so he could be the king. His uncle is good at taking action. His uncle is always plotting. Hamlet does not take action. So first, in the game of politics, is he even that good? Can he be a hero? Heroes have to take action. So there are all these questions from the beginning that seem to show that Hamlet is a man incapable of action, or is he incapable of action, and how does that show about his character? Is he a hero? Can he be a hero? Is he to a certain extent unheroic? I want to continue with my summary of the narrative, right? Everybody is corrupt. So Horatio is the good guy. The only other person that is not corrupt is Ophelia, his girlfriend, his love interest. Right. But even then, she has a father who is corrupt. Yeah. And her innocence seems to be too weak and vulnerable. So eventually, when her father dies, she herself goes crazy. So Hamlet finds himself in a world where he cannot act. He cannot, to a certain extent, even tell people what he really thinks. Because first, it is really, really, if you can't, my uncle killed my father. What? Well, a ghost tells me so. He also cannot tell his girlfriend, your father is a jerk. Polonius, the courtier, Ophelia, your father Polonius, he's a jerk. Yeah. Why would you tell your girlfriend that? You can't. And so he's in a lot of situations where, in fact, he seems to be stuck. And in fact, that is why he has deep depression, because life where you are in a situation in life where you see everybody else doing their thing. They are pursuing their plans for life. They're moving ahead in life. Claudius is king. He wanted to be king. He got to be king. Hamlet's mother moved on with life very quickly after her husband died, right? So Hamlet's mother also moved on with life. She married Claudius right away. So she has her own life. Horatio, the friend, right? He's the one that is going to university, and he's the one that is getting to get an education and achieve intellectual things in life. Right. And moreover, somebody like Laertes. Laertes is Polonius' son. Laertes also gets to go and study abroad when Hamlet is kept in Denmark by his mother and stepfather. They're like, oh, don't go. We want you here. Not only that, Hamlet often, as I said, feels he cannot confess his real feelings to even his friends, because Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are spies. But somebody like Polonius, he gets to talk and talk and talk. Hamlet, his words are not real. When you talk, and it's not because Hamlet is not a good person, but because you have to be very careful. You're being spied on. So Hamlet, when he acts, he pretends he's crazy. Polonius, on the other hand, he's all words. He's constantly talking and talking and talking. And talking lots of banalities in the world. When he talks to his son, talks to his daughter, always very lowly things about how he thinks his daughter may become a whore, how he thinks his son may be doing partying too much in college and getting girlfriends and having lots of sex and drinking too much. His imagination is constantly on the low side. As I said, Claudius himself is also calculating and maneuvering in politics all the time. One thing he's maneuvering is there is another country involved. Hamlet's family is the ruling family of Denmark. They're dealing with another ruling family, and that's the Fortinbras family. The Fortinbras, father and son, rule Norway. And Norway, the situation is reversed because Hamlet's father was a very powerful, strong king, and he killed Fortinbras, the old king of Norway. But why situation reversed? But the old king of Norway having died, he defeated the old king of Norway. The old king of Norway having died and succeeded by his brother as well, by the young uncle, the uncle is weak. The Norwegian king is weak. The Danish king, however, Claudius, is powerful and very calculating. And Fortinbras, the younger Fortinbras, the old king's son, Fortinbras, is also a very powerful personality, and he wants revenge for his father. Because what Denmark took away from Norway, Fortinbras wants back. So he's a very powerful personality. He's constantly pushing and pushing and pushing. So Claudius has to deal with that. Hamlet, on the other hand, the young Hamlet, old king's son, is weak. He cannot act. He loved his father. He understands he has to take revenge. He has no way, and he also hesitates. He cannot act. He has no energy. So the stage is set. Hamlet is constantly reminded in his life, dealing with different characters in his life, that different people he knows, they all have plans for life, and they all move ahead, and they all are pursuing their action. Young Fortinbras is doing that. Claudius is doing that. Queen Gertrude is doing that. She's got her merry life. Yeah. Polonius plays the courtier. He's the corrupt courtier, but he talks and talks and talks. That's what courtiers do. Flattery to the king, and also banalities to his own children. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern as well. They get to be spies. Eventually, they're done in by being spies because Hamlet, as you know, switched that letter, right? Claudius wrote a letter instructing England to execute Hamlet. Hamlet switched the letter saying, kill Rosencrantz, kill the carriers of this letter instead, and that's Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. So England, once Rosencrantz and Guildenstern get to England, they're executed. Right. Ophelia is even more of an actor than Hamlet. How? Of course she's more of an actor. Hamlet pretends he's mad. She really goes mad. After Polonius is dead, she is without a protector, being all alone in the world. Laertes abroad, she goes crazy. She really goes crazy. And also, Hamlet talks about committing suicide. He's depressed. He wants to kill himself. Ophelia really kills herself. At least that's the action she takes. She does take action. Laertes, too, serves as another foil. So that's an important concept. This is a play full of foils. They're all foils to Hamlet. Foils are characters that show the main character to be who they really are. So Laertes, too, is another foil to Hamlet. Why? Because he's also the son who wants revenge for the death of his father. And he pushes and pushes. He doesn't care if you're the king, you're the queen, you're the prince. I don't care. My father's dead. I want revenge. So in that way, Hamlet seems, again, inactive, weak. So that's one way of looking at the whole narrative. Now, there are other things then that we could do to look at Hamlet, what he does try to do to act or to take action. He does. And we will have to think, is that a failure or is that a success?